Welcome back to ESCMID TV. With us now in the studio, Professor Sir Nicholas White, who's travelled in from Bangkok to present a paper, a keynote address to us at Congress on possibly the elimination of malaria. Is that nice to have you with us, sir? And
thank you.
Is that a pipe dream, do you think, or within our lifetimes, may we see the elimination of malaria?
We could see the elimination of malaria within our lifetimes, but whether we will or not, I think is less certain. Malaria we think of as a tropical disease, but in fact, 100 years ago, malaria was found throughout most of the inhabited world. And there was tremendous progress in getting rid of it from North America, Europe, former Soviet republics, and marked reductions in many tropical areas. So much so that between 1955 and 67, the WHO endorsed a global eradication campaign.
Wow.
And that campaign had some success and some failure, and in the end it was abandoned, and then malaria came back big time, really from the 1970s onwards. And that resurgence of malaria was fueled by drug resistance in the parasite to the anti-malarial drugs and insecticide resistance to the insecticides. So then, since about the 2000, we've tried to turn the tide back. Could we go for the end game? It would require an awful lot of money and a lot of effort and a tremendous amount of commitment. And I'm less certain that that is available.
So what was the essence, sir, then of your presentation to this ESCMID Congress?
Well, I wanted to show that we can learn a lot from history. And malaria has a long and fairly distinguished history with excellent science going back really since to the discovery in the 1880s. And various approaches have been evaluated. We learned a huge amount about malaria in the first half of the last century, partly because it was used perversely to treat people with syphilis. So could we learn from that? So I reviewed the history. I brought us up to date with progress, and there's been really very substantial progress since about 2000 with an estimate of 6.6 million lives saved. Now, that's an awful lot of people's lives
Indeed.
saved. And that's through two things, or three really. One is use of insecticides, most importantly bed nets, which are impregnated with an insecticide called permethrin, and good drugs as opposed to drugs that have died from resistance. Now we've re-engaged with the idea of going to get rid of it all, and that is threatened by resistance. And so we have this perverse situation where most of the malaria is in Africa, but the resistance always comes from Southeast Asia, where I work. And it's happened not once but twice before that anti-malarial drug resistance has started in Southeast Asia and spread in people across India, across the Indian Ocean, into the eastern seaboard of Africa and across Africa. And chloroquine, which was a fantastic drug, the most important anti-malarial drug ever probably, chloroquine resistance that killed, and this is not an exaggeration, millions of children in Africa originated in Asia. It actually originated on the Thai-Cambodian border. The drug that followed it, sulfadoxine pyrimethamine, exactly the same thing. The resistance genes in the parasites that spread throughout Africa, they came from that same place. And now we have resistance to the wonder drug, the Chinese discovered artemisinin, emerging in, again, the same place. So is history going to repeat itself for a third time? That's the concern.
Amazing. Well, more power to you and the work and the studies that you're doing, sir. And thank you for presenting to us at the ESCMID Congress.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.